is what we want to do. And right now, I mean, at one point we had the Constellation program, and that was canceled with NASA. But, you know, Elon Musk with SpaceX, he's supposed to launch this unmanned vehicle. It was supposed to be the end of this month. I heard that it's been delayed at least a week. But he's basically doing what he said he would do. And I have a lot of faith in him, and I think it's one of the steps that we need to take in order to kind of invigorate space, you know, travel or the business into our country and then eventually the rest of the world. So it is a risk, I think. Yes?
I had two questions. For the bone loss, couldn't you take up an external bone stimulator that they use for orthopedic surgeons use after surgery?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that, but is it kind of electrical kind of, yeah, I'm not, they may very well be doing it. I don't know about that.
My second question is, your human waste products, where do they go? You release them?
Yeah, basically they get collected for the urine. What we do is we try to separate as much water as we can from the urine. And then what's left over, we either, when the shuttle is still flying, we let the shuttle take our trash back, take our feces and urine byproducts back. But now, essentially, it's the Progress, an unmanned cargo vehicle that comes up, a Russian vehicle that comes up. We unpack it, all the good stuff, and then it becomes our trash hauler, and we pack it with all the trash, and then it undocks and burns up over the Indian Ocean. So
is there a concern that our bacteria is going to contaminate space if we let it out there?
Oh gosh, most of it ends up. I mean, anything that we get rid of is supposed to re-enter the Earth's atmosphere. So I haven't heard of any talk of that since. Yes, sir.
So my daughter and I were wondering today how you take a bath.
You know, we don't have a bath up there, and we don't have a shower. So what we do is we take a sponge bath. So we take essentially a towel, and we get it wet with like some type of cleaning. It's essentially kind of a waterless shampoo and a waterless cleaner that hospitals use, and that's how we take a bath. And believe me, when I came home, that's one of the first things I wanted to do was take a hot shower. And for anybody out there who really ever wants pretty feet, go to space, because you lose all the calluses off the bottom of your feet. Yeah. Yes.
What was cosmonaut 103 Angel's background, and was the Soyuz as an emergency vehicle due to land and cover?
Yeah, Yuri's background, he was an Air Force pilot, and to use the Soyuz, yes, I mean, that was, if we were to use it, hopefully we would land in Kazakhstan, but if we had to get home, like if we didn't have the options, we had to undock right away, we might be landing somewhere else, because the Soyuz is designed either to land in the water or on land. They have on the Soyuz, they have what they call soft landing rockets. They basically have these rockets that are at the bottom of it that they have an altimeter that senses when you're about like 12 feet above the Earth, and then they can fire, but it's still pretty hard landing. Somebody, yeah, wait in the back.
Do you think that people's kind of blasé attitude towards space nowadays, like, oh yeah, there's a guy up in there, and do you think that kind of contributes, will that like prevent further leaps forward in technology?
Yeah, that's one of the aspects. I think, when many of us in this room, I'd say many, maybe a few of us in this room, grew up with the space program. I mean, I remember watching, to me, the big TV events were the Olympics or the space program. I mean, those were the two, that we grew up with, and so it was just kind of part of our life. And so a lot of that stimulus came from this competition with the then Soviet Union, because it was a space race. Now I think if to get that similar type of call it competition or whatever the driving force is going to be, I think it's going to be whether it's minerals, whether it's energy, whether it's water, whether it's something that happens that we have to leave the planet for some reason. So I understand what you say kind of about the attitude, but what's interesting is that a lot of people on the news saw the Enterprise flying on the 747. And, a lot of people were saying, oh, isn't that so sad, the end of the space shuttle program? And I'm thinking, the Atlantis last launch last year, that was the last flight, and, it's kind of like, that's how I felt, before the last flight, actual flight into space of the space shuttle, is that, the next day we're going to look around and we're going to say, what just happened? And that's what I think I see a lot of the reaction of people is kind of like, are you kidding me? That's it? But I'm confident that there will be other vehicles. It's just going to be a matter of time until they come around. But, I think the space shuttle program ending, unfortunately, as bittersweet as it is a necessary step for us to get beyond low Earth orbit. Because the space shuttle wasn't designed to go beyond low Earth orbit. It wasn't designed to go higher than, even 400 miles is a stretch. When it went to Hubble Space Telescope, that was a stretch for the shuttle to get that high. So it wasn't designed to go beyond low Earth orbit. And if we need to do that, it's much like between the Apollo program and the shuttle program. The Apollo program left at least 2 ready-to-go vehicles. They canceled 2 missions that were ready to go because we had to pay for the shuttle program. And now we're in between the shuttle program and what the next program, incidentally, which is a question, are we going to go back to the moon? Are we going to go to an asteroid? Or are we going to go to Mars? So, I think as far as getting, piquing people's interest, it might be another reason another factor might be, the Chinese have said that they're, basically one of their goals is to land on the moon. And I think what will be interesting is what is the attitude in the rest of the world, including our country, the day after the Chinese land on the moon. What are we going to be thinking? So not to say it should be a race. I still think it should be a cooperative program, but sometimes it's just our human nature. We're kind of driven by different things, and unfortunately, sometimes it's fear. Yeah. Yes, right. Yes,
monetary problems aside, do you think it would have been safe to continue flying the space shuttle through ancient technology?
Yeah, I think, the space shuttle, some of the things that I had heard was that, that I read in the Columbia Accident Investigation Board report is that, the space shuttle, if many people describe the space shuttle as like the butterfly on the side of the rocket. Because on a capsule, when we launch capsules, which will most likely be the next spaceship vehicle, will probably look like a capsule. But the capsule, where is the heat shield in a capsule when it launches on a rocket? It's protected, underneath the capsule by the rocket. Where's the heat shield for the shuttle when it launches? It's kind of exposed there. So that was, a lot of people thought that was a design flaw in the shuttle. But, if you want to reuse a vehicle, that was kind of how the design came out. So as far as the monetary, what we do spend on the space program, a lot of people are surprised that, usually our space program, it varies around somewhere between 0.5% to 0.8%, so less than 1% of our budget is spent on the space program. Does anybody know what we're spending on the interest on our debt right now? It's probably 20%, maybe even more. It's huge. So, I think certainly for the next reusable vehicle, hopefully we come up with a design that's not as put out there and as fragile as the shuttle was. But shuttles are well maintained, and flying in space. I think for many years we're going to lose people as we try to do things.
When Frank Hughes from NASA was here a couple of weeks ago, he said there were only 3 minor malfunctions in the entire last flight of the shuttle.
Yeah.
And he was fairly convinced. He was director of spaceflight training for NASA.
Yeah.
Said that they could have flown for many years.
Yeah, the vehicles were well maintained. Every time I went in the shuttle, it looked like it was pristine and new. But there were problems that NASA had to deal with that you're always going to have your unknown unknowns, and they tried their best. Usually when NASA got in trouble is when they were trying to compete against a schedule or meet a schedule and do things too quickly, And it's frustrating because, you know, as a taxpayer and as an astronaut, it's frustrating because, you know, there were times in the shuttle program where if we had, let's say, a hydrogen leak, we stopped flying for 3 months, 4 months at a time. We fixed it. You know, why didn't we stop flying after we knew that a big chunk of foam had come off the space shuttle and actually damaged one of the solid rocket boosters? That was, I think it was 2 launches before Columbia that had happened, and we didn't stop flying at that point. You know, so it's frustrating. But, you know, the thing about NASA is that you have, you know, they're all sharp, well-meaning people that are, you know, they're trying to, you know, that are focused on a mission. And the bottom line is we're human, and, you know, we made mistakes. Yes. I'll tell you, can we get somebody who hasn't asked a question yet? Or yes, go ahead.
I guess kind of a two-part question. When you first applied, that was right around the time of Challenger. Did you notice a change, a kind of shift in attitude in the applicants at all, or in the philosophy of those who applied? I mean, I know there have been losses before in the space program, but that had been the first in a while. So
yeah. No, that's the one thing about flying in space is I don't think they will ever lack applicants for this to become astronauts, no matter how many accidents we have. And you know, I'll be honest. I mean, as heartbreaking as it is for the loss of any human life, I mean, actually, during the Columbia accident, I think that same week there was a helicopter, you know, Black Hawk, that went down, and I think at least 7 to 10 people, soldiers, lost their lives that same week. You know, how many people knew about that? So, I mean, you know, you certainly are. It's, you know, then again, we have more than 4 Black Hawks. We only had, you know, 4 shuttles at the time, but I think the lure of flying in space that we will never. I mean, even if you know, if you think about how many people would sign up if they knew it was a one-way mission to Mars, I think there are a lot of people who would say, "Yeah, I'd go." There are probably a lot of spouses who would say, "I'll send my husband." But you know, I mean, I just think it's that type of that people feel if it's important enough, you know, they will do it. So I didn't sense any change in, you know, people applying. But yes.
Did you like Star City, and who are we in debt to?
Yeah, Star City was you know, being in that culture there and living there. Certainly, we kind of had our own little American community where we could speak a lot of English, and it was, you know, the relationship built over many months and many years there in Star City. So they're all very friendly. And then your second part, I don't understand what you mean.
What you said was we're paying a tremendous amount of interest on our debt. Who are we in debt to? We never talked about that.
Oh yeah. Well, I've heard, you know, it's probably some other country. I know. Somebody's funding us. Yeah. Well, you know, it's an interesting question. I go, well, what if we just said, hey, everybody forgive our debts? Why don't we just do that? We won't be in debt anymore. But I'm not a business major. I think it's not that simple. Yes.
I love your picture of the freedom to read the books.
Oh, okay, good.
We're big Harry Potter fans.
Oh, good.
Have you shared that photo with J.K. Rowling?
I don't think so. One of the things I did is we found this one day in orbit. We were kind of being playful with the ground, and I found this long aluminum thing that I think was like a bracket that wasn't being used anymore. So that became my Nimbus 2000 that I flew down, you know, the middle and the ground like that. You know, I mean, it's important when you're, you know, in this stressful environment to entertain each other, to do stuff like that. So, how are we doing in time? I went way over.
Yeah.
Yep. And I'll stick around for a while for the big kids.
Hey, thanks a lot for coming. It's great. It's clear out, so I feel like I'm somewhere else. Like we observatory, but it's clear out. Keith and I will be outside. I got one telescope on the moon, if you want to look at that. In the meantime, Astronaut Birch will be signing autographs. We have a suggested donation of $5, so there's a really nice picture that he'll autograph. And I was wondering if you could autograph my poster.
And the $5 goes to Copernic, not to me.
Yeah, it goes. Thank you. It goes to the scholarship fund that help kids come to the observatory and take classes that wouldn't be able to afford it. Thanks a lot for that. So, okay, thank you very much. Okay, yeah, I got a Sharpie over here. So, you come right over here.